We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock p.m.
Commissioner Nolden. Commissioner Winfrey.
Here.
Commissioner Ellenberg.
Here.
Commissioner Clemens.
Present.
Commissioner Avery.
Present.
Commissioner Shoemaker.
Present.
Commissioner Davis.
Present.
Commissioner Newman is absent. Commissioner Peppin.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
At this time, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Avery to lead us in invocation and pledge to the flag.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to reserve my rotation for individuals who have prayer thoughts or reflections for loved ones or friends or circumstances they may be unfortunately dealing with. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is the approval of the draft minutes from the July 20th board meeting. It has
Support.
been moved and supported. Is there any discussion or changes to the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from July 20th, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? The minutes are adopted. That'll move us on to public address to the board. At this time, any member of the public wishing to address the board will have 2 minutes to do so. We ask that you please line up to my right, your left. When you come up, we do ask that you state your name and your city of residence.
Good evening, Wesley Whitaker, Fenton. I would just like to urge this commission to consider, to take a look at the voting irregularities that have been reported in the media. Flint is in the spotlight nationally because we have a history. I think we have a great opportunity here to do something that is going to gain some positive light on this city. This is a great city, and I think if we just took a look at what's going on in the elections and make sure that that's not happening here, I think it would go a long way to spreading some goodwill and incurring some favor in the rest of the country for the city. Thank you.
Gavin Monk, Clio. Voting integrity is a large, huge subject right now. And I would like to see Genesee County stand up against two things: mail-out ballots and drop boxes. We were sold those two things under the guise of needing to be done for the pandemic. Well, I don't see these things. The pandemic isn't what it used to be, but they're still wanting to do these things. And I would like to see Genesee County stand up against that. When you have just a open box where anybody can come up and put as many ballots in as they want to, that's a problem. And I understand that there's talk of putting cameras, video, but that doesn't stop people from doing that still. And there doesn't seem to be any accountability for that if that is done. Wisconsin has outlawed it. Other states have outlawed it. I'd like to see Genesee County stand against it. And the second thing I would like to talk about is the use of Title IX and the school lunch program to force a transgender agenda on our children. I noticed that we have a men's and women's bathrooms right around the corner there. I want our schools to maintain boys and girls bathrooms. And I know the president has given out an edict through Title IX that the schools are going to have to recognize that or lose their ability to get money from the school lunch program. And I know that this council hands out money for that program.
Thank you. Your
So
time has
please
expired.
consider that. Thank you.
John Collins, City of Linden. And like the two gentlemen before me, I would like to address the issue of the unattended drop boxes for upcoming votes. Those drop boxes are an invitation sometimes to those who may not have integrity to put in ballots that have been harvested or obtained in some other illegal fashion. I would like to see Genesee County become a bright spot and be known for things other than possibly voter fraud, that we have possibly been indicted in the media because of things that have been said. So if we restrict those unattended drop boxes where people could possibly drop in multiple ballots that were obtained in a wrong manner or from some other fashion rather than being their own ballot, I would like to see that eliminated so that this cannot be promulgated any further. Thank you very much.
Lori Spencer, Argentine Township. The people of Genesee County have witnessed, reported, and shown proof of discrepancy, errors, switched votes, and long delays in our elections due to using computers and machine-counted ballots with no recourse, investigation, or consideration. Isn't it our constitutional right to have our votes correctly counted? We do not and cannot trust or rely on any machines that have provenly changed or manipulated our votes by unknown sources. Today, we have proof and question that Connect, a Michigan-based election software company, may have released the names and personal information of 1.8 million American election workers nationwide to the Chinese Communist Party. Is this a breach of our laws considered foreign interference in our elections? Is this a national security breach or threat? Is it your job to uphold the state and national constitutional rights for your communities, for my community, as our Board of Commissioners? We ask you, our Board of Commissioners, to uphold your oaths of duty to protect your residents and our constitutional rights. Standing with your residents by removing all machines from voting will not only help restore our faith in fair elections, replacing our current system with basic in-person, hand-counted paper ballots is the immediate solution to a long overlooked and ignored problem of unexplained voter fraud. Standing up for us can also restore our confidence in your leadership and bring back American pride to our beautiful state. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Carolyn Nance, Fenton Township. During our travels around the country, when strangers ask where we are from and they aren't familiar with our small communities, wouldn't it be wonderful to say we are from Flint? I wonder what you commissioners say when asked by strangers. Are you proud to say you are commissioners in Flint, Michigan? One other thing I feel sure is that the citizens of Genesee County and the United States, for that matter, have all lost faith and trust in their government and its leaders. I can think of the perfect nonpartisan olive branch for you commissioners to hold out for us to gain our trust and finally put Flint on the map in a positive light. I would like you to start a dialogue amongst yourself and ultimately vote unanimously to get rid of all electronic voting machines and electronic tabulators in Genesee County, and to use only counterfeit-proof ballots and hand counting for all voting in this county. This has been done in other counties in the United States, and it is not difficult. What do you say, commissioners? Show us that you have the courage and the faith in yourself and the election from which you were chosen for to vote unanimously for this, which will be a huge step to regain the trust of your constituents. Thank you.
Bob Hawcroft, Gaines Township. I'm going to just go off the cuff here, but echo each and every one has heard unanimously those who've gone before me. My concerns are much the same. I don't know if you're familiar with it. I would guess that most of you have heard the title, but many of you may have not viewed the movie 2,000 Mules. It is absolutely nonpartisan and is absolutely disturbing. I have a bachelor's degree from University of Michigan right down the street in communications. And it's all about the spin, it's all about the position, it's all about the dialogue and those kinds of things. I would strongly encourage any of you that have not watched it to at least watch it and view it prior to making any further decision on this matter. But if you can see clearly to do the right thing, that'll be great. If you don't see clearly after watching it, we're sadly beyond hope. So with that being said, I'll just say that my family is generational from Genesee County, generational University of Michigan grads, University of Michigan Flint grads, actually. I work at General Motors, not in as a GM employee, but as a contract employee. Were I to be hired directly, I'd be fourth generation. My family actually worked at GM before there was a sit-down strike. So that gives you some idea of my background. And just looking at the messaging and the message checking, with the 20 seconds I have left, I'd like to say I'd like to see it, future meetings be a little bit more inclusive in terms of ADA perhaps signing or some other for those who are hearing impaired. Two of my sons are bilaterally hearing impaired. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Kevin Bigelow. I'm from Genesee County, and I just want you guys to highly consider getting rid of the ballot boxes, because there's a whole huge thing of fraud that can happen with those and has happened with those. And that's pretty much all I wanted to say. I'm just speaking for we the people and expect you guys to do the right thing. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to have this evening meeting. I hope that you guys decide to have more evening meetings. I would like to say, I guess I didn't say Debbie Zofko, Clio. I am a disenfranchised voter. I wonder if you guys care and if you guys plan to do anything about that to establish our faith in the vote. I have always taken my right to vote seriously. I have always researched my candidates from the age of 18. Voting has been made a mockery. I hope that you'll do something. There's many of us here that feel the same way, and I am in agreement with those that have spoke before me. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Amy Fascinello, Grand Blanc. I'm sure, if anyone's going to be concerned about voter integrity, I'm sure it's all of you, because you're the ones that are spending your money and raising money and funds and your time and effort, door knocking and campaigning to win the seats that you sit in. So I'm sure that all of you are very concerned about voter integrity as much as we the people. I just have a couple, suggestions maybe that you could think about to add more integrity to our elections. So one thing I was thinking about, if you can't get rid of the electronic machines, because I know it is part of our Michigan election law right now, but one thing you could think about is having, in addition to the machine calculate the vote, you could utilize maybe your precinct delegates. There's Republican and Democrat precinct delegates for each precinct, and have them sit there, Republican and a Democrat, and go through and do a hand count as well. And that way it kind of verifies what is going through the machine. It's just something to consider. And then another thing I was thinking about was with the ballot drop boxes is, like when you have, owls that are going to get hatched. They put the little camera on them, and people, can sit there and watch the little owl cam, 24/7. They can just click in there and watch the live feed. Well, if we're going to have cameras on these drop boxes, because that's what the law says, that you have to have, videotape going of the drop box all the time. Why not make that feed available to the public so that at any point in time, they could click on and see that video feed live? So, thank you.
Neil and Mary Beth Seward, Flint Township. Systemic racism, by definition, is the oppression of racial, cultural, or socio-economic groups for the political, social, or business advantages of others. Historically, systemic racism is used to continue economic and resource inequalities among racial lines and to try to rationalize racist ideologies. During your last meeting, several groups, such as the Habitat for Humanity, the Institute of Family Development, and the State Land Bank, to name just a few, gave presentations to urge you to place a ballot proposal for economic development and quality and affordable housing millage consideration on this November ballot. If passed, these initiatives would have offered better housing, jobs, and educational opportunities within Genesee County. Rather than allow the residents of Genesee County to collectively vote and make the decision in respect to these initiatives, 7 of you voted, and the request to allow this proposal to be placed on the ballot was denied. Sadly, the vote was 4 white commissioners against 3 black commissioners. As such, you overtly demonstrated a classic textbook example of systemic racism. After your vote, numerous people walked out of this meeting, including my wife and I. We were not only in shock, but we were embarrassed by you. Although it's not our place, we gathered in between 2 groups, one outside this room and one directly outside the building, and apologized. We apologize to both groups for the act of systemic racism that they had witnessed and encourage them to continue to advocate for their causes, try not to get discouraged, and in closing, reminded them that not only do Black lives matter, but now more than ever, Black voters matter. When we speak to you about strong public safety and good race relations, you say you support us and Sheriff Swanson, yet
Okay. Mary Beth Seward, Flint Township. I guess I'm going to finish this. Yet here we are, because we need longer than a couple of minutes to discuss this with you. We would like that you would all be at the next Genesee County Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion meeting. We need you to try to help us understand your actions. Thank you.
thank you for your time.
If I may interrupt, Mr. Seward, your wife could have given you her time. Didn't we decide on that? Because she was next in line. I thought we agreed we were going to do that.
She was next in line. She was with her. Oh.
Well, she was standing in line with him. I'm assuming it was next in line, so she could have. I just thought if he wanted to continue next time, he would know from that. So if I'm wrong, I don't know, but I thought we agreed upon that at one point.
We know we did at one point.
We didn't like people
then-
jumping in line, giving
yeah.
their time, but I thought we agreed that, guess what, because she was next in line, she could, and I just thought, he was so close to finishing, she could have done that, and just one, for future knowledge of everyone here, that would have helped out, so, sorry.
Shannon Ellenboss, Fenton Township. I actually wanted to speak to the election fraud in Genesee County. Maybe not fraud, but the QVF. I don't think anybody's talked to you about this. I was involved with a group of people, there were 40 of us, that did canvassing in Genesee County from December through March. A couple of the interesting things that we found were, I went through 150 people that were born before 1921. Out of those, I found 100 of them that were dead, but are still in our voter files. 50 of them I could not find anywhere. 4 of them I could find as being alive. Because they're over 100 years old, they actually made some of the newspapers for some of their things that they were doing. There was a lady on the file who was born in 1850, who voted in person in 2 out of the last 3 of our elections. I also walked to a lady's house. We talked to her. She bought the property that she lives on Saginaw Street in Grand Blanc 25 years ago. It was a piece of property. She built her house there. She had 6 people who were registered to vote at her house that have never lived there. She's the only person who owned the house. 6 people that have never lived at her residence, do not share her family name, were registered to vote at her house. There were several people that claimed that they voted in person that were switched to absentee. There were people that claimed that their son was away in the military, lived in North Carolina, shows he voted in Michigan. We found a lot. We have a lot of affidavits that were collected and have been turned over to the various clerks throughout the township and cities for all the canvassing that we did. And I don't think anyone has been made aware of that was done. But there are problems with our QVF. And when people talk about this, there really truly are issues with Genesee County.
Is there any other member of the public wishing to address the board? Any other member of the public wishing to address the board? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. Do you have something?
I was wondering if corporate counsel or you, Mr. Chair, could inform the residents that what responsibilities we have as a board and what responsibilities the county clerk has, and what our limitations are of what we can do with the clerk. If someone could, if that would be a good time, or we want to wait to the end of the meeting, but I think it'd be
Do you have anything you could say?
fair to kind of.
Off the top of my head, no. I'd have to research it, but for the most part, the county clerk doesn't have too many powers or duties over top of over the local clerks. The voting, I mean, nobody submits their vote to the county clerk. It's all to the local clerks, and they decide if they put out drop boxes, and they're the ones who count the votes. So we don't have little, if any, powers over the local clerks.
And what power does the Board of Commissioners, I think is what's being asked, have over the county clerk? My understanding
Not
is it's
very
just
many.
setting a budget.
Yeah, that's basically it. And this is just off the top of my head.
You know, and I am very proud of this board. We did take action against our clerk when we suspected things, misappropriate behavior towards our workers and other stuff. But unfortunately, the residents are the ones, as I've been told by the prosecutor before, that guess what? They decide the final verdict when they vote. And that's the way it is. Or they could recall said clerk if they don't like what's going on, and it's all the way down to the local level or township level. But I just was trying to make it clear to the residents what under state statute we can do and can't do, you know, and maybe we could have something actually created and put it on the website so maybe people would understand what you know, I mean, because I would love to clear up a lot of these problems for people. I think most of this board would like to make people feel more secure in it, but unfortunately, that's your local clerk's job. And I realize with what has happened, there, over at our clerk's office, there is some genuine distrust on top of it from both sides. And I think that's something we all can agree upon. So if we could do anything like put something on our, you know, website or something to explain what we can do, what is their responsibility is over at the clerk's office, you know, maybe that would help people, you know, understand what we can do and what their responsibility is and what they can do as residents maybe to be a fair process. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Your office could work with the Director of Administration to put together.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you. That'll take us on to communications. There is none. Moves us on to our agenda, reports, Board of Commissioners. Item 1 is Resolution 22-656, an approval and agreement between Genesee County and Bayer Roofing. And it has been moved and supported. Is there discussion? Commissioner Shoemaker.
My last question, because we discussed a lot of things. Josh has been very good at keeping us up to date on stuff like this. Did we have a date when they think they could start on this?
I believe this company had the installation in stock, so it's pretty close to immediate.
All right, super. Thank you, Mr. Freeman.
Any other discussion? Commissioner
Was this
Winfrey.
bearded out?
It was. We got 3 responses back, and this was the most responsive.
Other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? The motion is adopted. Item 2, Resolution 22-657, approval of a request to pay Ascension, Genesis, Hurley, and McLaren $583,333.33 each for uncompensated it's getting late, indigent care. It has been moved and supported. Is there discussion? Commissioner Shoemaker.
We just have a little explanation so people understand we're not just giving this money away. It's,
So counties are obligated to pay a certain amount for indigent care to local hospitals. As part of our healthcare millage, that payment has typically come from that based on what our expenses are in any given year. We met with the hospitals about a week and a half ago, to talk about what that number would be this year, and this is the number that was decided upon and is split equally between the three.
thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? The motion is adopted. Item 3, Resolution 22-658, approval of a request to add several contractors to the purchase order for Genesee County's home improvement program. It has been moved and supported. Discussion. Commissioner Shoemaker.
Just a couple questions, because it was added to the board and didn't go through the committees. Just one, why? And then I'm thinking I understand probably because there's a shortage of getting workers, but I just would like to know, why it's in front of us.
Have Derek Bradshaw, our Director of Planning, come and answer those questions.
Thank you. Through the chair, yeah, so we typically only do a couple of these a year. We're actually getting a large amount of requests for both wells and septics right now. And so we don't have a lot of contractors in our pool. So all these contractors have agreed to join our process. This really just gives them the opportunity to bid. So each one of these projects will be bid out, and then the lowest responsibility bidder will get it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? The motion is adopted. That'll move us on to Community and Economic Development. Meredith Davis, Chairperson.
We went over all these in committee, so I'd like to move items 1 through 5.
I would ask that we separate item 5, please.
1 through 4.
I'll support it.
So it's been moved and supported to move items 1 through 4. Is there any discussion on those items? Seeing none, all those in favor of items 1 through 4, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? The motion are adopted.
Item 5, approval of modification number 3 of a contract between Genesee County and the Flint and Genesee Group in an amount not to exceed $25,000.
As I mentioned during committees, I will be recusing myself from this vote as I am an employer of the Flint and Genesee Group.
I will the same. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd also like to say that I sat down with the Flint and Genesee Group this week, and they brought up a few interesting points that I will be meeting with you guys all to discuss, maybe some solutions moving forward in the future.
Thank you. Commissioner Shoemaker.
Through the chair to Ms. Davis, you're happy with moving forward with this now?
For now, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And those recusing themselves? Here. The motion is adopted. Is there any report from the Community and Economic Development Committee?
Not at this time.
Thank you. That'll move us on to Finance Committee. Gary Pepin, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Items 1 through 37 were discussed in Finance Committee last week, and I would move all the items.
Been moved and supported. Commissioner Shoemaker for any
May
pull-ups?
remove item 6. Just 6, please, yes.
I'll support that.
That the only one?
We went over everything last week, and I was very happy with the discussion, so yes, please.
So the motion is for items 1 through 5 and 7 through 37. Is there any discussion on those items? Seeing none, all those in favor of items 1 through 5 and 7 through 37, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Those items have been adopted.
Forwarding to receive and file a copy of the paid county bills for the weeks ending 6/26 and 7/3 and 7/10 in the amount of $8,896,355 $2,058.
It has been moved and supported to pay the county bills. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Shoemaker.
As you guys know, I've always been vocal since I've been down here about our overspending to our budget every year. We always say we're going to make adjustments through the year and actually cut because, as I've said before, we have a $650 million shortfall over the next 20-some years. And this year, we're over budget. We've spent, I think we were, Mr. Freeman, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're about $2 million over what we budgeted.
On our upcoming budget?
No, this last year.
Current fiscal year.
This last year. So we didn't make the cuts. We actually increased spending. So just so everybody knows, I understand the bills have to be paid, but this is a symbolic way. I just want you guys to know I take it seriously. Since I've been down here, this is my 4th year. The last board and this board have said, we're going to make changes during the year. We're going to fix this. We're going to fix this. We're going to stop our spending. We're going to rework our employee. We're going to, not replace them when we need to, so on and so forth. And now, here we are, almost $2 million over budget, again, facing over the next 20 years, hundreds of millions of dollars that we have a $100 billion general fund, a little under $100 million general fund budget, and the majority of it, a large amount of that is grant funded. How are we going to come up and pay for this? So just so everybody knows, again, not that it's a no, because I'm just trying to say we got to do something. We've got to start making a change because the residents of this county, they live on their budgets and they suffer the consequences when they fail. And this county, I would hate to see them fail them, and then we can't provide vital services because we can't live up to our fiduciary responsibility with this money. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Nay, I meant nay. Sorry, I'm half asleep. Apologize.
Thank you. The motion is adopted. Is there any report from the Finance Committee?
Not at this time.
Thank you. That'll move us on to the Governmental Operations Committee. Bryant Nolden, chairperson.
Yes, we've gone over all of the items under government operations, so I'd like to move 1 through 16.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to move items 1 through 16. Is there any requests for removals?
Mr. Chairman, can we remove number 2? We need to make a change on the dollar amount.
Okay.
You'd like to amend your motion to remove 2? And is that okay with the supporter?
Support, yeah.
All right. This time we will consider items 1 and 3 through 16. Is there any discussion on those items? Seeing none, all those in favor of items 1 and 3 through 16, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? The motion is adopted.
Yep, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move Resolution 2022.
Can we, maybe you can move it or move to amend it? We need to increase that dollar amount from $15,000 to $20,000 because of a court case that we're dealing with, and we've got increased cost of care for some animals.
Okay, I'd like to move this with amendment to move it from $15,000 to $20,000.
Support.
So this is the motion to amend. It has been moved and supported. We'll open the floor for discussion on the amendment. In doing so, I'd ask our Director of Animal Control to come up and explain that a little bit.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. We had to increase that amount on that because of the surgical need of an animal that was brought in as a court case. It had a prolapse rectum. The surgery took place, the animal strained again, and it done it, and it come out again. And so they had to actually go in and do what's called a purse string and actually do a full operation on the intestinal tract of it. And this is an animal that's will be in the court system, will eventually become our animal. Because of the condition that this animal was in, it wasn't treated for years. And this probably happened over the course of the last year total. So, and so that's why we asked for the increase on that one. So our increase in animal bills that have happened, we've got a lot of animals coming in. We've had just another 50 cats that came in out of a hoarding case that all have to be medically checked out. They were living in 4 inches of feces throughout the house. And yeah, so that's what we're dealing with right now. So,
Commissioner Shoemaker.
Through the chair, what kind of animal is this?
this was a dog.
Wow.
That had the prolapse.
So can we, is there, through the chair, if I made it, Mr. Freeman, is there a way to, and I know we talked about actually using some ARP dollars to help the, animal shelter.
I don't know that that's an eligible expense, but that's something that we
That-
can look at for you.
That one might not be, I understand, but obviously during COVID, we saw an increase in our animals we were actually taking in. And unfortunately, court cases, were backed up. And for those who don't understand, Mr. Parker and his people are responsible for those animals until that gets through the courts. So they've been feeding, taking care of these animals throughout this process, and unfortunately, it's taken longer, so that's weighing on his budget. So, I hope we can get something together, kind of, and he's been very helpful in talking with me, and I'm sure he has with the rest of you, because I think they've done a wonderful job over there, and I'm very happy with what's happened over there. Hopefully, we can get some more money over there, maybe not for this procedure, obviously, but for other stuff to offset these
Offset
costs they're
that
having.
increased cost.
Because between the volunteers and his staff, they're doing a wonderful job over there. So, but I know a lot of people see the money going out, and what they don't understand is we have to keep those animals until that court case is done. And at one time, it's anything, it could be, last time when he showed me, we had rats and a giant snake over there, which I didn't go in the room with the snake, I'll be honest. The rats, he got me in, but the snake, I wouldn't. But, so if we could, Josh, and I'm sure the chair's followed up on it, if you would, Mr. Clemens, let's try to see if we can, do something. I know he's been talking about it, but it's just been taking a while. It got me thinking, so thank you so much.
Let's take a look and see what we could do from eligibility.
Yep.
And if I may add that we do attempt to seek restitution on that, but sometimes trying to get restitution from somebody that has nothing doesn't work.
Is there any other discussion or questions for the Director of Animal Control? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment to raise the dollar amount from $15,000 to $20,000, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? The amendment is adopted.
I'll move the amended.
Support.
It's been moved and supported for the amended item. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Shoemaker.
Just one last one. I'm sure it's already figured into his budget through the chair.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? The motion as amended is adopted.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Is there any report from the Government Operations Committee?
No report, but I just want to make sure, for clarification purposes, we had a couple of items on our desk when we got here. Were we supposed to add those?
We can do it at the end.
Okay. Nothing at this time.
Thank you. That will take us to the Human Services Committee. Charles Winfrey, chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Like the other committees, we have discussed all of these items, and at this time, I'd like to move items 1 through 43.
Support.
Items 1 through 43 has been moved and supported. Is there any items we would like removed from that motion? Give everyone a second to look over those items. All right, it has been moved and supported to move items 1 through 43. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? The motion is adopted. Is there any report from the Human Services Committee?
Not at this time.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the Public Works Committee. Ellen Ellenberg, chairperson.
Chairman, I would like to move 1 through 8, if that's possible.
Support.
Commissioner Shoemaker.
If we could remove item 2 from that would be okay for discussion.
All right. So at this time, there's a motion to move items 1 and number 3 through 8. Is there any discussion on those items? Seeing none, all those in favor of item 1 and 3 through 8, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Those items are approved. Commissioner Ellenberg.
Got to move number 2.
Oh, move number 2.
Support.
Item number 2, approval of an agreement between Genesee County and Susky Chevrolet has been moved and supported. At this time, we'll open the floor for discussion. Commissioner Shoemaker.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. This last week, I had a chance to talk with Mr. Freeman over some of the items that I thought we should have to protect the county a little better. I've received them tonight. I don't want to hold up the vote, but what I would like to do is either have your blessing that the chair and I sign off on these, and we'll move them forward once we actually, because I did get the condition report, and there's some issues Josh and I discussed with the contract a little bit, and we did get the privacy agreement. I haven't had a chance to really look it over well, but I don't want to hold it up. I know it's important, so, you know, I'm sure the chair and Mr. Freeman and I could actually go through this really quick, and if Ms. Ellenberg, since it's her committee, if she wants to be part of this also, that would be fantastic. You know, so it's whatever everybody wants to do. I would just like to amend it that actually it's, you know, subject to, I don't know how to word this. I'm trying to think how to word this.
What do you want it to do?
It would be subject to
To your review.
to the review of the Public Works Chair, you know, or Public Works Committee and the Chair.
Yeah, I think everybody, you know, we're all in the same room. We understand that you want some specific things within the contract. You're approving moving forward with the deal or the process. And then once everybody is comfortable with that contract, then we'll submit it for signature. And you know, we won't submit it for signature until you're signed off on those final things. So.
Like I said, because there's just a few things, and I want to make sure we protect the county on them. I've seen the condition report. There's a few questions I have now that I've looked at it, but the Sheriff's Department came to me, and it was very great they brought this to me, and I'd like to keep it moving forward, but there are some questions I still have, so.
And I would rely on your expertise in the auto industry that before I would sign it, I would make sure that you're good with those pieces that have been added.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Mr. Chair, could you send that information to me too? I didn't receive it.
They just handed it to me as I was just over there talking to
Okay.
them.
Yeah, 'cause I don't know
We'll
what
go down and
you're
get a
talking
copy.
We
if
just
you-
get
if you
copies of
want
that for
later.
everybody.
Just what I have so far.
I do have just one question related to that. Is there a mileage piece to it, or is it unlimited miles? Because it's a sheriff's department.
No, it's a certain mileage and then a certain time period. So either the time or mileage that we keep the vehicle for.
Okay, all right.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? The item is adopted. There is no unfinished, sorry, is there any report from the committee?
Not at this time.
Thank you. There's no unfinished business. Under new and miscellaneous business, we do have 2 items that are being proposed for us to be brought from the floor. The first coming from the 67th District Court. On your desk is a letter from the court. As you all may recall, earlier this year, we voted to approve the position for a magistrate. According to state law, outside of approving that position, we also are required to approve the selection of that person. The courts have identified that person, and that is what this letter is outlining. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
No, you've covered it. It's the court's appointment, but it needs the blessing of the Board of Commissioners.
Is it possible we can move both of them at the same time, or do we have to do them individually?
We'd probably have to do it individually because this is a state statute. We'll need to do them individually.
I'll make a motion to add.
Support.
So there's a motion to add this item. This is to add it for consideration. It will require 6 votes. It's been moved and supported. So because we will require a 6-vote majority, I will ask for a roll call to add this to the agenda.
Commissioner Nolden?
Yes.
Commissioner Winfrey?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellenberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Clemens?
Yes.
Commissioner Avery?
Yes.
Commissioner Shoemaker?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Peppin?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0.
Motion is passed 8-0. At this time, is there a motion to approve such item?
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Shoemaker.
Mr. Chair, maybe you can refresh my memory, or Mr. Freeman or someone. When did we vote on this? Was this a while ago?
About 2 months ago.
Yeah, I think it was not the last meeting, but maybe the meeting prior to that. It's when they had a regular magistrate that was part-time, and then they took away that position and created the attorney magistrate
I
position.
don't think, Mr. Commissioner Shoemaker, I don't think you was
It
at
may have
that
been the
meeting.
one you missed, yeah.
I think that was a meeting that you missed.
That was a subcommittee meeting, so that's why I'm trying to, because I was at the other meeting, so I'm trying to remember. Maybe I did, so, but, okay, I was just wondering. Thank you for explaining it. It makes sense now, but
Yeah.
thank you.
Is there any other discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of the confirmation of Kristen Grant to Attorney Magistrate for the 67th District Court in Davison and Mount Morris, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? The motion is approved, and the confirmation of the appointment has been made. The next item is coming to us from G-Card. They're requesting authorization to amend the ERA2 budget with a recommendation of approval by the Board of Commissioners.
Move
I will-
that.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to add it to the agenda. Because we are adding it to the agenda, it will need 6 votes, so I will ask for a roll call to add it for consideration.
Commissioner Winfrey,
Yes.
Commissioner Ellenberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Clemens,
Yes.
Commissioner Avery,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoemaker,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Peppin,
Yes.
Commissioner Nolden.
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0.
Right, this item has been added for consideration. It has been moved and supported for consideration. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Shoemaker.
If Ms. Howard could just come up and explain
Sure.
what it is. It's pretty simple, but just so our residents know.
Absolutely. We'll ask Director Stephanie Howard of G-Card to provide some clarification on this item.
Hello.
Through the chair. You thought you'd just get away with
Yeah, I
texting me,
did.
didn't you? No, I wanted to have you come up and actually tell us.
So we have a ton of residents that need assistance with their rent. Some were judgments actually prepared to be put out. Ton of money in utilities, we just needed to move it. More money in utilities than in the mortgage side, rent side.
Continue.
Could you just explain, Stephanie, to most residents of the county, if they are watching, where this money comes from, so they understand this is not from the general fund?
This is absolutely not from the general fund. It is all from the Michigan Department of Treasury. We received it directly from the federal government.
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion or questions for Director Howard? Seeing none, all those in, thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is adopted. Is there any other business to be brought before the board? Commissioner Shoemaker.
On that note, just a real quick thing. I know everybody wants to get out of here. Just to my wife, if she's watching at home, happy 20th wedding anniversary. So, what a trooper putting up with me, so.
Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there any other business
Burn
to
the
come
corner.
before the board?
Yeah, right.
Any other business? Seeing none, we stand adjourned at 6:48 PM.